Meeples on Meeples, episode 14. I'm Adam.
Andrew.
Ian.
And Brian.
Before we get into our game of the week for this week, we want to invite you to follow us over on Facebook.com/MeeplesOnMeeples and Twitter @MeeplesOnMeeple. We also have all of our videos up on both Vimeo and YouTube. So if you want to go and check back episodes, you can hit both of those sites, subscribe to our videos, like our videos, maybe leave comments if you have some thoughts on some of the past reviews we've done, and keep up with us when we put new videos up in the coming weeks.
This week's game of the week, and I'm going to apologize up front that I'm going hoarse, so I'll do my best, is Zombicide. And Zombicide is a cooperative game from 1 to 6 players, where you take on the role of a hero, and they're great sculpts. Many of them based on a popular character from a TV show or a movie. Like the sheriff definitely resembles a certain sheriff from The Walking Dead. There's a character, if you kickstarted, that looks like Bruce Willis, but they kind of went with a movie theme there. And we're going to touch on some of the rules, because this is a really complicated game, especially with the way the zombies take their actions and whatnot. But basically what happens is you start off with 3 actions, and you can spend those 3 actions searching if you're in a building, attacking, or moving. Some of the scenarios have cars, and you get in the cars, you can move those around. And then the zombies always move towards line of sight when it's their turn, or if nobody's in line of sight, the noisiest spot. Now, noise works in that you count as a noise marker, just your breathing, your movement, or whatever. So this hero, there's 1 noise in that spot. If there happen to be a couple heroes who end up on the same spot, there's 2 noise. And so you basically have to decide what the noisiest spot is, or line of sight first for zombie movement.
And the noise contributor to that is if you fire a gun, if you crack a door open, that adds a noise marker to wherever you took that action.
To that spot. So that's why it's complicated. You're always trying to keep track of where did all the noises take place this turn? Where is everybody located? Okay, who's got line of sight? And on street, line of sight is they can see all the way down the street. In rooms or from the building or outside looking into a building, you can only see 1 room away. So that's how line of sight works. And then there are various types of zombies. Walkers move 1. Runners get 2 actions, or move 2. You have the fatty, which are hard to kill. They take 2 hits to kill. And the hits do not accumulate, so you have to be able to kill them with 2 damage in 1 swing. So very few weapons can kill them. And then the abomination he's just the biggest, baddest guy. Luckily, there can only be 1 of him on the board at a time. But play order basically goes, the heroes take their turns. I'll use my 3, his 3, his 3, his 3. Then on the zombie's turn, they first attack if they're in a spot with a hero, and then they move. The ones who didn't attack, and then you spawn at all the spawn points, and the scenarios tell you where to put the spawn points. These red rectangles on the board. Like I said, without going into too much depth, that kind of covers the basics. You have 3 actions. You can level up every time you kill a zombie. You move up on the tracker, and when you hit a new color on the tracker, you start in blue, hit yellow. You get another extra action. You hit orange, you get to pick a new special ability. And when you've killed a lot of zombies, 43, you get to pick 1 from the red zone. So you actually do level up as you kill zombies and get more abilities and options, extra movement, things like that.
And you could really go on and on with the rules for this.
Yeah.
I
feel like I'm babbling too, trying to think as it is. When you attack, there are dice to roll, and different weapons require a different number of dice to roll and to hit.
There's little icons, and there's cars, and it goes on and on and on.
And there's tons of gorgeous bits. So,
but saying that, maybe we can start off with components on this game like we usually do. Any thoughts on the components on this?
I think that the board is beautiful. I mean, it's very, very detailed, and they're actually all
double-sided.
Yeah. Oh, I did not realize they were double-sided, but the artwork on them is very, very good. I mean, down to I can tell there's a pencil versus a pen, and they drew up the keys on this keyboard.
Yeah.
I mean, they really, really went into detail on it.
The magazines here, you can actually read the cover. That's kind of cool. Sitting on these tables, that's pretty sweet.
This one says "Old News" because we're all dead. The pieces like the walkers, there's
multiple sculpts. That's the coolest
part. There's 4 different types of walkers.
And then there's 2 different types of runners. And then also one of the major things that I really liked is you can kind of see this is purple. Well, it goes with the purple character. So you don't have to have any special extra marker saying that you're this color or you're this person, and you don't have to try and decipher, because, I mean, the characters don't look exactly the same, but you don't have to say, this gray character looks just like this gray character.
Well, yeah,
It's
they're also very distinct.
Yeah, they match their their
Yes.
sculpts match their characters. I mean, really well. It's the same pose and everything. So
I actually like that because the way that they actually even are posed are completely separate from each other as far as, so you really are going to get a whole lot of
The one minor thing is
mismatch.
your sheriff is awfully close in color to the zombies.
Yeah.
They're all a lighter gray, and maybe got a slight brown tint to him, but he does kind of blend in with them, except for he's holding a sweet shotgun.
I mean, as far as components go, the one thing I might say is kind of a downside is has a lot of little bits that end up on the board, especially if you end up with sound bits, these doors, mark where the doors are in the buildings.
The X mark where the things you have to go and search and find for the scenario.
And when you do a lot of rolling, which in this game you roll all the time.
And zombie movement too, as you push, because you actually end up, because they get cluttered so much. You
I mean, this is an actual end scenario of a game, so this shows you how many zombies are on the board.
We literally, you at the beginning it's very easy because when you spawn zombies, wrong. You spawn to the person in the highest level. So when everybody's blue at first, like, oh, one walker starts on this spawn point. Yeah. And there's a lot of zeros or 2 walkers. So at the beginning of the game, there are not many zombies coming into the board. But when you get up to level red, and there's already a bunch of zombies on the board, and you're spawning 8 walkers here, 5 walkers here, 4 runners there, there were definitely times when we had like a dozen guys in one section. Like each one of these between crosswalks is a section, a room counts as a section.
These guys are all in one room. The point I'm getting at is you have all those things, everything moving around on the board, and then you have these little bits that are supposed to be stationary, like the doors, the spawn points, the things you're supposed to find, and they can easily get moved around, knocked around, and you kind of lose track of where they're supposed to be on the game. So I don't know how you fix that. I mean, aside from making like, I guess, places or pieces where they lock into place somehow, but I don't even know if you can do that.
I guess the only good part is, aren't the maps drawn out in the book?
Yeah, so you can always go back to the map.
So you can always reference it and say, okay, well, it was here. So
that door belongs over there, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's the one good thing. It's not like when you just randomly put them out and you decide, okay, we're going to put one here, we're going to put one here. It's actually laid out in the scenario where it goes.
But the components themselves, thick, quality cardboard.
And even the bits are there.
The player pieces are fairly sturdy cardstock paper.
What do you think of the slider that has to gauge your...
The slider
works much better than Trail House on the Hill.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I'm not a fan of sliders, but that one, it does hold. And it's actually, in times, it actually is a little bit difficult to actually move it around.
It's very tight.
It's a little tight at
The only
first,
thing I don't like about the slider is it is actually very tight. But there is 5 spots on here where you have to put these cards.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're moving it, like, it can get tricky, or if you try to lift it up, then your cards slide around a little bit on you.
Yeah, and that's a problem because the cards actually serve a purpose based on what place they're in. You have 2 cards that are in your hand, and then 3 cards that are not in your hand. And you actually have to use an action to pull something out of your inventory and put it in your hand. So
you do have to shuffle cards around, and if bumping them could be a problem.
Yeah,
I can see that problem.
I ran into a brief situation where I had the 2 weapons, and I'm kind of thinking, what do I hold in my inventory versus what do I hold in my hands? But honestly, I don't really run into that as much. I don't even know why that's even a huge playing point. Maybe different scenarios.
The first time I ran into it a few times because I had 3 weapons, and it depended on like where
you were. Yeah,
like if I was fighting a walker versus.
But it almost seems like if you want something and you're going to start doing, like I'm gonna hold the X. I'm gonna hold the X that has the most damage, and I'm going to be doing this for our group. I'm going to shuffle and trade for it, and
I think it depends on the scenarios that you play on, depending on how much you move. Like this one in particular, you just did a lot more killing than I think you did finding and maneuvering things around. So
I think that gets a little bit into strategy too. So before we jump into that, is anything else on components? Anybody has to?
This is the one game where I think the smaller cards really works well.
Yeah, especially
they fit on the placemat, and as you can see, this is a good sized table, and this board almost fills it once everybody has a character card around, especially if you're playing 6 players.
And then you have the tray of zombies to draw from. I mean, you can fill this table.
Absolutely.
Interlocking would be.
That's something we always throw.
I always love interlocking.
It doesn't take much either. It really
wouldn't. No. That being said about components, how about strategy on this game? That's probably, I guess, where the meat and potatoes is this game.
With a few points on strategy, basically very basic. Always hit smaller sections first because once you crack a door,
That's another rule.
Yeah, once you crack a door, the rule is that it spawns each room within that one building.
So you go into this room, flip a card, put that number of zombies. This room, whereas this is all one. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there are, I believe, 12 rooms.
10 rooms in that one. 10
is there 10?
Yep.
We counted.
No, there's 12. I just counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Thank you. But you used to spawn a ton of zombies.
Who put an extra
when you crack that? That wasn't there a minute ago.
I just don't know what count. Anyway, so you want to just basically hit those rooms first because you want to be able to search. You want to be able to get gear yourself up because you don't start with many weapons and you need to be able to start.
There's a downside to that strategy though. We started with the small rooms, so by the time we spawned this 12-room building, we were up in the red level for spawning. So we were pulling every room 3 fatties, 5 walkers,
we were only
7 walkers.
We were only in the blue when we broke this first part. It was just
that first one wasn't a problem yet. This was the problem. We waited too long. So you can't wait too long.
But the idea that you just want to, when you first start out, you don't have many weapons. You have your groups trying to get together and figure out your own strategy. Start with the smaller buildings. That's just a key.
I don't know if I'd go there. I mean, I think starting with the big buildings, because in the blue you can draw a lot of cards where there's no zombies, so you could end up with a building that's only half full. Get in there,
which we did in that one. This one, however, was...
We did not actually implement what Ian is saying. We busted into a small building, yes. Okay, we searched in there once, and then we all got in cars, and then we just ended up killing.
And our problem was we spawned the small building, and I think our first zombie was the abomination.
Yeah,
but first card. Well, let's go.
But I mean, we spent too much time trying to kill everything on the board versus because everybody just wanted to clear everything off before we
leveled up
more.
Fast.
Yeah, it blew up the game way too quick to where if we would have done it earlier, it would have helped us a lot.
Yeah, I think we. I guess I'm going to disagree on the cracking small building.
It depends on the scenario. I'm going to throw that out.
The last scenario we had one big large room and then a few smaller areas, and we cracked a big large room first. But I had frying pan, which does no damage. It's really, really hard to kill with that.
Oh, yeah.
There was one person with an axe and one person with a crowbar, and we split into 2 groups. Oh, stay together.
I think that was more the problem in that game. We split up and then we.
But either way, we started down there. If I would have cracked that door and I get in there, I only have a frying pan. Or the next guy only
sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Well, first off, if you only have a frying pan, how'd you crack the door?
Well,
that can't crack a door, son.
Somebody cracks the door. Somebody
the way out that door handle.
And then you have very limited amount of weapons. Now everybody's moving towards you. I think sticking with the smaller one just to
okay, we beat that to death. We need to keep this moving. I'm going to throw out another strategy. It depends on the scenario. I agree with him.
Weigh in online.
I agree. It would depend on the scenario.
Another strategy is you have to think ahead. Because the way zombie attacks work, again, is they attack first. So if we're right next to these zombies, we're okay. Because the attack phase happens. Then once you take care of any attacking that happens on the board, you say, okay, now all zombies move. Well, let's not use runners, that's a poor example. These walkers can move once, so then they move into the spot with us because they have line of sight. So we're okay there. However, if there were runners here, we don't want to end our turn right next to them because they attack first, nobody attacks. Oh, now the runners move, but they get 2 actions. One would move them in, the second one would attack. You really need to know, when we're all done, where are we going to be on the board in relation to every zombie? And is there a chance that a zombie's going to end up with a chance to attack on us?
And that gets especially important later in the game when you're running out of zombies in the trade. Because when you run out of zombies, say you have no more walkers to pull out.
This is my least favorite rule. I'm going to say this right up front. I can't stand this rule.
You have no more walkers to put out on the board, and you draw a card that asks you to put out walkers. Because you have no walkers to put out, every walker on the board gets an extra move and an extra action. So even if they were 2 away from you and you thought you were safe, they're 1 away, and if you draw another walker, they're right on top of you.
And if you were to draw a third one, guess what? They get to attack you now because they're in that same spot.
And when you get to the point where you're in the red, it happens almost every time you spawn.
But then the other option is, if there's a zombie in your circle, you actually have to use points to get away from it unless you have the slippery.
And that's another thing. Once they move in, it's not like, oh, my next turn I'll just get out of there. I believe this guy has the slippery action, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he can just... Slippery means you can get out. Zombies being in your space don't affect your movement. For most people, like my good sheriff here, it takes an extra action to move out for every zombie in there. So, okay, it would be 1 normally, but it's going to be 2, 3, because I got the 2 zombies in there.
So,
So, yeah, so if,
So
even
near
if
the
they
end-
end on top of you, your next turn, you could still be totally up the creek.
so when you have 40 zombies in your one circle, you're not going to know.
No.
But anyways, also another strategy point: always play with the slippery guy in your team, and make sure you pick your teammates accordingly.
He's pretty much I think the one essential in every game we played is having him.
You'd have to have it. And I think we were kind of flying at this one blind going into it first, and we were kind of thinking, oh yeah, this might be nice to have.
We had, if you play single player, here's how it works. If you play 2-player, each person gets 3 heroes. If you play 3-player, each person gets 2 heroes. You use all 6. The problem is once you get to 4 players, you only have 4 heroes. So the scenario automatically becomes harder because you only have 4 heroes playing the exact same scenario with the exact same rules. 5 heroes is the same thing. You only have 5.
Again, the book is...
And then it gets easier again when you get to 6 players because then each person gets a hero.
Yeah.
So that this 4-player game, it made it harder right off the bat. But we picked wisely. He starts with a gun. He starts with slippery. The roller skate, I think is her name, Wanda, I believe, gets an extra move. So you just really have to know everybody's abilities and how to use them and have a well-rounded team.
And I think another strategy is use the cars.
We did not do that our second game, and we probably would have won it. We just abandoned the cars and went in the building when we could have just been driving around killing.
Everybody that's in the car is automatically slippery. So zombies in the space, it doesn't matter. You can drive right out of there.
Oh.
But when you pull into a spot with zombies, you do damage to every single zombie in there besides Fatties and the Abomination. So you roll to try to kill it. I mean, that's how we leveled up so fast in this game, was we drove up and down the street just taking out zombies.
You also when you stop in the space, you get to take swings at any and all zombies that are in that space. If you start there, and if you roll through there. And the cars can move up to 2. So, I mean, cars are a very big plus. And actually kind of fun just to even play with in general. But
we probably played a little too much with the cars.
I think that the
we played
downfall
about
of
an
the
hour
car,
just driving up and down the strip cruising, and we.
But I think the major downfall of the car is that you can level up so fast.
Oh yeah, that got
just ridiculously fast, which means that when we busted this open, we were already...
In our previous games, nobody got past the beginning of Orange because we were trying to play it safe. In this game, because we used the cars and we were just kill them all. We were all red.
I maxed out within like an hour of the game, and it was over 2 hours.
Yeah, and it was like a 2.5 hour game.
The other point is with the cars and everything else and how everything's worded. I hate the way everything's worded in this instruction manual. I'll try reading through that.
Why don't we transition into our likes and dislikes thing? Because I think that gets into the rules a lot.
Yes, and
any other strategies that you guys can think of? I think we kind of covered it.
It really depends on your group,
plan in
the scenario.
Oh yeah. You mean you have to? I guess one other strategy is you really have to play this game safe. It is not a run and gun game. It is a very
true
much
survival game.
Exactly.
Because you get no defense dice.
No.
If they are in there and they get an attack, every zombie gets a free hit on you.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have I believe there's the hockey mask, you can shake off a wound. If you have a hero, who has tough, he can shake off 1 wound, but with the number of zombies coming at you, it's not enough.
Yeah. But let's get into our likes and dislikes, which I think comes down to the rules a lot.
Yes, I was reading the book through for the cars because that was what we were going to use, and we used them quite a bit. Never once in the book did it actually say the cars are considered slippery. They had to word it an entirely different way to make it seem slippery.
Yeah, rather than say this.
They already wrote up the guideline for slippery. Why wouldn't they have just used the term? But I guess that wasn't easy enough, I guess. And then I was flipping back, and they say, please see this point, please go back here. Things weren't in the right order as far as, okay, I want to be able to hit the car. We'll have to go over the hit section to figure out what the actual car damage did.
And our second game, I had your position. I was navigating the rulebook. The rulebook is besides being hard to understand in some situations, it's hard to navigate.
Yeah, that's why I would suggest have everyone read the rulebook before you play. And then I typed up player aids, which really streamlined our first game at least. Is having it because it doesn't give you player aids in this game, unfortunately.
No.
So
even the player aids they're still long and.
I just did the essential rules and it was still a full page. It was crazy.
Yeah. Do you want to get into the whole zombie spawning thing? Because I know that's a real sore point for you, especially.
I can't stand the fact that, like Adam said earlier, if you are out of walkers to place and you flip up, okay, on this spawn point this time, 5 walkers. Guess what? Every walker, since you can't spawn any, every walker on the board gets an extra action. Now, people who kickstarted the game, which unfortunately I did not, got a whole extra setup. They have twice as many miniatures. And the first game we played, we had a buddy who had kickstarted it. And we didn't run into that problem nearly so much because he had so many extra zombies. We could just keep placing them on the board. Since I have half the number of zombies he had, we're always running into that. They get extra action once you fill it up like
That
this.
gets into the planning ahead part.
So what we would want
And you have to plan way ahead because even if you're 3 spaces away, if all 4 of the spawn points in this scenario were walkers, the first time they move,
it happened for
they move
runners for us,
closer,
too.
they're in your room, they're gonna attack.
We had it happen with runners. We ran out of runners, and runners getting 2 actions. You draw a couple cards from them. They can book it 4 spaces down the board. To get on top of you.
Yeah.
Runners don't get movement points. Every single zombie automatically gets action. It doesn't.
Yeah.
So they either attack, hit, whatever. It doesn't matter. They just get.
But
it.
I'm just saying, even at the spawn, they get just more movement and action. It's
But I
crazy.
mean, what we could do is we could supplement with Legos pieces, Monopoly pieces, pennies, quarters, and start.
Yeah.
All
Here's
pennies
the-
are walkers.
Here's the Abe Lincoln walkers coming through.
Yeah, the dimes or the runners.
Well, he is dead. In his defense, he could be a zombie.
I thought he was a vampire hunter.
Yeah. There's another rule.
Well, there's a zombie one
Is it? Yeah,
on
okay.
Netflix. Yeah, check it out. Abe Lincoln Zombie Hunter.
Right now we're pinning stuff we've never even watched. I do not stand by that statement.
I do.
I just said check it out. I don't watch it either.
There's another rule that I'm not a big fan of is if I'm in this spot, and let's say my good friend Ian here is in the spot, let's just get all these guys out of here. In the spot next to me with a walker, I'm the sheriff. I start off with a gun, so the gun can shoot up to 1 space away. Oh, so why don't I take that walker out for you? Unfortunately, the way the rules are is if you shoot into a space where heroes are, heroes take damage first automatically.
Evidently, everybody in this game can't shoot. Can't aim.
Including even the sheriff at least should be immune to that. But no, nobody can aim. You hit people first every time before you hit any
He's
zombies.
20 foot away. He can't scream, get down.
Just duck, cover.
So basically, we're all action hero movie film guys, and then we just randomly shoot and just miss.
The only
That's a
thing
good
that I
idea.
can
Or
actually
hit the wrong
assume
person.
that
We're the bad guys in action movies that always miss what we're trying to hit.
I mean, what
the only reason that I could actually assume that they would put
Or
that
the
rule
chick,
is
'cause the
that
chick-
okay, if the zombie were to literally be like on top of the now I'm gonna shoot, the chances of you hitting the
I can see
character
that.
would be. I mean, that's the only reasoning behind it I could think.
But then give heroes if you get eventually the rifle and the scope, you can ignore that rule. But come on, a trained sheriff can't hit something
I'm not
from
saying
10
that.
feet
I'm
away.
saying that is the only
He's
reason
got a
that I could
shotgun.
see.
I think the only reason they did it is to make the game harder. I think that's the reason they threw that rule.
The other one that I don't like is the I'm equal distance between this zombie and these 2 people. Now instead of one going towards one area,
They split.
they now have split, and
So you
now
added a
there's
zombie to
2.
the board.
You throw a zombie on the board that wasn't there before because
And
Yeah,
again,
again,
adds
a
to the
goofy
fact
rule.
that he didn't get the Kickstarter, and we're going to get screwed over.
As far as that attacking goes, too, is one of the weird things is when you have the vehicles, you can't actually drive in to pick somebody up because the vehicle, the car, is like a weapon. So if you pull into the space to try to pick him up,
people take
you
damage.
hit him.
Yeah. Well, technically, you roll to see if you hit him, but the way we roll,
How bad
you would
are
probably hit
Not
him.
only can you not shoot, but none of these people can drive.
yeah, you have to actually you have to roll the dice to see if your big vehicle that obviously is going to be detrimental to everybody else on the board.
So you have to
Has
go to the
to
cars.
trick, yeah. Because this zombie is so fast moving, he's jumping out of the way.
Well, I mean, but even if there's tons of zombies and one human, the human is the first one to take damage.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's
I would like the rule.
Alright, well now we're starting to just beat a dead horse here. Do you want
It
to
maybe
do
deserves
reviews?
Yeah, we can do reviews. Gonna give our scale.
okay. Scale 1 to 10. 1 is absolutely it's an abomination.
Yeah.
Do not get a terrible game. 5 is it's okay. I'd play it if other people want to. 10 have to have it in my collection.
You want to start?
Where do we start down there?
Sure, I'll start. I'm gonna give it a 5. I don't mind playing it. In the first 45 minutes, everything's going along good, this and that. It's coming along, the artwork's really nice, all that. But once it gets to that point and you get all this on the board, trying to keep track of everything. Okay, yeah, I shot at this guy, I hit 9 guys, roll 7 dice, do this, do that. And it's just, it gets so ridiculously complicated
And
that at a
crowded.
certain point, you get so disengaged if it's not your turn or not your character that you don't even want to play. You're just like, all right, well, it's going to take 20 minutes for this one guy to go, so I might as well go make a sandwich and come back. And then you got 3 guys trying to tell you this is what you should do, and then you can't really. I think there was many times in the game where I just sat there and they're like, "Go over here, do this, roll the dice." I'm like, "Okay, just rolling dice. I don't even know what I'm doing." So,
But you're doing really well.
You were the only one.
You were the best dice roller this last game.
magic hands. Artwork is great. The characters are awesome. If it didn't get so complicated so easily, it would be a much higher score, but it just gets so much so quick that it turns me off right away because I'm really engaged for the first half of the game.
And you like zombie games too.
Oh, I am horror, zombies, everything. I love
Last Night on Earth, that type of thing.
Yeah, and I was really surprised when I didn't love this game. So it's a 5, just more or less because of the design of the game.
Yeah.
And that I can get halfway through it before I hate it.
I'm actually going to go with a 5 too, actually. I was a little bit higher, but the more we've talked about it, there's too many things wrong with this game. One is the fact that it gets so difficult, like you said, so complicated, so fast. We played 3 games now of it, 3 different scenarios, and we only won this last scenario because we played a little loose with the rules, I think.
I think we just got bored.
I think we got to the point where we just wanted to be done with it, and we made it so we were going to win. I enjoyed it the first game. I liked it the second game. By the end of the third game, it was one of those where I just needed it to be done. So that's part of the reason I go with a 5. The other part is, and I've said this in other reviews, I have problems with games where the rules are to some extent broken. I mean, the rules of the board game are what make or break the game. So if you have rules that just cause too many problems, are too complicated, it's too difficult to even navigate the rule book sometimes, you can't have, it's just not going to be a good game for me. So the difficulty makes it, a lower rated game for me, but then you throw on top of that the fact that the rules just are too complicated and, like I said, to some extent broken, that I just have to give it a 5.
I'm going to disagree with the rule thing there a little bit. I don't think the rules are too convoluted. I just think that they tried too hard to throw in extra rules to make it harder and harder just because. Now that we've played it and we've officially ready to give our review based on what's in the box, I would say, though, I am going to house rule this from now on. I'm just going to do away with that. If you are run out of zombie figures, they all get an extra move. That rule just kills you at the end.
Oh, yeah.
You have to play it way... You just have to find the perfect mixture of not too aggressive but not too safe early in the game to make sure you control the number of figures on the board. So, if I were to house rule it, I'd probably love it. I think if I changed that one rule, we would win a little more consistently, and it would go faster. You could knock some time off the game. Because this last game was going on 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And if you read online, depending on the scenario, it can be 15 minutes because some of the scenarios are flat out broken. People said it took longer to set up than to play. I believe scenario 2 and 7 or something, or just they said you can beat in 15 to 20 minutes, whereas some take up to 3 hours. So house ruling it, I think I would love this game, and I think I could probably get these guys to play again and enjoy it. But again, reviewing what's actually in the box, as much as I'm a total sucker for miniatures and gorgeous artwork, I'm gonna probably have to give it like a 6.5, 7. And I really wanted this game to be this. I mean, this is Left 4 Dead. I mean, you even have the fatties, and you have, they even look like some of the zombies in Left 4 Dead. Everybody's doing co-op. This is what I wanted Last Night on Earth to be. Before I found out that somebody has to play the zombies and somebody has to play the humans. And
I think it's a fair comparison. Last Night on Earth versus this for you. I mean, which one?
I like this one a little bit more. In Last Night on Earth, we never win as the humans. In this one, at least we've won 1 for 3.
Sure.
But this is a little too long to do that. And like I said, there's a couple rules I think I would house rule just to make it more fun. I understand that you need to lose sometimes at a co-op game. If you always win, obviously it's too easy. There's no challenge. But come on, this is ridiculous when you have this many zombies and only 2 heroes are left because we both died. Yeah. And for the last 20 minutes, we're watching them, suggesting to them what they should do. Mm-hmm. We're eliminated from the game. It kind of stinks. You don't get to draw a new hero or something. That would be nice. But so like I said, where did I settle it? Right around about a 7.
6 or 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 7 because
5.5.
The pieces are just 3 unicorns, a rainbow, and G.I. Joe.
And that's close. All right, Ian.
I'm going to give this game a 4. Again, middle of the road. If the game hits the table, I would try to maybe suggest something else. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with this. I love co-op games. Flashpoint, love the games. Co-op, easy, simple play. Rules are there, and the pieces are there to kind of move the game along. And you're against the environment. You're against like an autoplay. Too many times where your first moves in the game can actually be detrimental to you can set back an hour in gameplay, and I don't think that's. I mean, we're talking 2 moves into the game, you're already screwed up, and the game's almost unwinnable at that point. That's too much of a one way against the game. For the most part, the pieces are neat looking.
I'm just going to ask real quick, since I dropped so much money on this, if I were to house rule it, please tell me somebody will play this with me. If we were to get rid of a couple of
I'll
those
play
rules.
a few adjustments. I would play
Play it again.
Yeah,
Okay, because this is not, I would say that's something to factor in for people watching this. This is not cheap.
Oh, it's not. No.
What are we talking about as far as running?
I ended up paying, $72.
And that was cheap.
I don't think. I mean, me and novice. I would say I would never playing this game before. I would probably I'm not going to buy this game because that's way too much into it just to get kind of a halfway. It was fun, But I love killing zombies. I love just roll dice. It's off the board. You did something awesome. And I love that.
There was a lot of that.
Like a quick game factor. I don't have to check out viewing angles and see if I hit him with the scope rifle. That stuff.
He loves HeroScape.
Oh.
I have bins of HeroScape back here. He can't wait to get back.
I mean, again, miniature man right here. So that's where I'd rate it. I would say maybe if you house rule, it might bump it up to a 5. But it really, honestly, I'm going to stick with a 4. I wouldn't buy it. I'd try to maybe steer clear of it just because that's the only fun part is you can kill a couple zombies.
And
I can do that. In the
even though we're spread out from a 4 to 7, I think everybody's review here. We always tease each other, but I think it's totally legit. I can understand your 4, even though I don't want to because I paid so much money for it. But if I separate myself from my small fortune,
I'll give you $2 just to throw it away.
But I mean, I can see why people are all over the spectrum. This is insanely hot right now in board game geeks. Everybody's talking about this game.
On the bright side, if we never played it again, we could use these cool zombies on Last Night on Earth. I mean, that'd be fair, right?
Yeah,
new use out of them.
Last Night on Earth, the heroes were
these are well sculpted. I mean, you can have multiple uses.
They're very, very nice. So.
I think that pretty much wraps up our review on this. I guess we didn't discuss before. What are we doing next week?
We actually talked about, remember Cyclades?
Oh, yeah. We're going to do Cyclades as our game of the week next week. So check us out for episode 15.